Welcome to this elevated frequency, aura of purpose. Let us not pretend you are unaware of the massive shift in the atmosphere right now. It is a very specific kind of quiet. A fabricated silence that only arrives after a heavy truth is dropped. This is the silence that completely incinerates every false narrative people have ever constructed about your aura. Because the exact moment your true energy and identity hit the collective consciousness, the world did not just react. It short-circuited. They immediately stopped all their hidden whispers, all their condescending jokes, and all the limiting labels they tried to force upon your spirit. Suddenly, all of those petty judgments look entirely ridiculous. The exact same individuals who spoke as if they had your soul completely figured out are now sitting there in pure shock. They are scrolling through the revelation of who you really are, treating it like surveillance footage of a massive mistake they didn't realize they were making. And the most beautiful part of this entire cosmic sequence, they cannot even pretend they were not completely wrong. Their previous words have aged terribly, turning sour like spoiled milk. They claimed your vibration was just average. They insisted you were trying too hard, and they swore you lacked the divine spark to be anything spectacular. Now, just look at them. They are as quiet as shadows in the night. They are absolutely terrified that you might somehow hear the echo of their past opinions ringing in their own minds. This message is resonating with you on a soul level, because everything they ever doubted, everything they mocked, and every single time they tried to shrink your aura, the universe just completely crushed it on your behalf. And before we dive even deeper into this frequency, aura of purpose, take a moment to align with this energy. Tap the like button and subscribe to anchor this message into your reality. It fuels our divine mission, it strengthens our collective signal, and it keeps this absolute truth alive in a world of illusions. Now, let us return to the exact place we left your doubters trembling. The deepest truth is that these people never actually hated the older version of you. What they truly hated was that even your quietest, most dormant version was still infinitely stronger than their loudest, most desperate performance. They despised watching you rise naturally, without needing permission slips from society, and without a crowd to validate your journey. They hated the undeniable fact that you could walk into a room holding nothing but your raw presence and still completely outshine people who rehearsed their entire personalities like a terrible school play. And the most ironic part of all this, when they told you that you were not that deep, what they secretly meant was that they lacked the intuitive capacity to understand how your mind operates. When they told you to relax, or that you were doing too much, they were silently begging you to stop evolving because your growth triggered their deepest insecurities. Do you want to know what truly broke their spirits during your great reveal? It was not your success, your upgraded reality, or your newly recognized power. It was the horrifying realization that every single time they tried to place you inside a tiny box, you were already existing 3 dimensions outside of their framework. They foolishly believed they were studying you like a simple assignment. Instead, they were unknowingly witnessing the origin story of a divine force that the universe absolutely refuses to let fail. They desperately wanted their minimized version of you to be the ultimate truth, but then you stepped fully into your authentic light, and it completely erased their entire narrative in a single, powerful breath. Here is a secret they will carry to their graves. They always intuitively knew you were different, long before you even realized it yourself. That underlying fear is exactly why they reacted to your energy the way they did. People do not randomly attack what they do not secretly fear. unhealed individuals do not endlessly gossip about a person who does not quietly threaten their stagnant comfort zone. Every single insult they ever threw in your direction was nothing more than sheer panic, disguised in a very cheap mask. They caught blinding flashes of your destiny long before it materialized. They could physically feel the universe molding you into a phenomenon they could never control, predict, or manipulate. Let me reflect a timeline you have already survived, but perhaps never fully decoded. Think back to when you were younger and notice how the energy in the room always turned strange whenever you achieved something great. That was not standard jealousy. It was premature dread. They were looking at the energetic blueprint of the master you were destined to become. They saw someone whose mere existence forces a room to recalibrate. Someone who takes absolute silence and transforms into applied pressure, and then turns that pressure into pure, unadulterated power. Do you honestly believe it was a random coincidence that society constantly tried to dim your light? Absolutely not. They were unconsciously reacting to a future, elevated version of you that paralyzed them with intimidation. And today, that future version is standing firmly in the present, revealing itself as if it never once required their approval to exist. Your authentic identity did not just go viral or gain traction. It actively detonated. It brutally exposed every single lie they built around your name to keep themselves comfortable. It forced the collective to finally confront the glaring truths they spent years trying to avoid. It made former peers deeply regret their past arrogance. It made past connections question their entire ability to judge character. It made your hidden enemies sit awake at night, wondering how many crucial times they severely underestimated the entirely wrong soul. It made the world realize that you never actually needed a physical stage to become legendary. You were always the stage itself, and they were nothing but background static, silently praying you wouldn't notice how intently they stared every time you passed by. This specific era of your life is not a stroke of luck. It is karmic closure. It is cosmic justice. It is the universe firmly stating, let them bear witness to the exact light they attempted to bury in the dirt. And now they are forced to sit there, wide-eyed and breathless, mentally replaying every single past interaction with you as if analyzing a spiritual crime scene. They are finally beginning to grasp the magnitude of who you have been this entire time. They are wondering how you managed to remain so incredibly patient. How did you orchestrate such a massive evolution right under their noses without breaking character or slipping up even once? The answer is beautifully simple. You did not rush the divine timing. You did not loudly brag about your inner work. You never begged their fragile egos for external validation. You moved with the grace of a sovereign being who knew the grand reveal would naturally occur exactly when the universe declared it was time. And right now, that timeline has officially anchored. This phase is the dawn of their greatest nightmare and the sunrise of your ultimate breakthrough. Because once the world is exposed to the unmasked, fully activated version of you, the bridge burns and there is absolutely no going back. Listen very closely to this vibration hour of purpose. Yes, you, the soul who just caused the matrix to glitch out, as if it witnessed a ghost. Before we travel any further into this revelation, I need you to take a deep, grounding breath and truly observe what you have just accomplished. Your emergence did not merely catch attention. It fundamentally rewired the neurological pathways of those observing you. If you are genuinely prepared to keep walking through this alchemical fire, if you are ready to completely decode why your authentic identity fractured their reality in the first place, then you must prove you are still anchored in this frequency with me. Drop a sequence of 777 down in the comments, signaling to the universe that you are stepping fully into this upgraded timeline with absolute, unshakable confidence. Because the wisdom that follows this moment is not casual conversation. It is the deeply hidden, esoteric layer operating behind the chaos your reveal just manifested. And if you are truly the chosen soul they never saw coming, you will feel an undeniable, magnetic pull to remain here until the very final syllable is spoken. This is where the true psychological breakdown of your haters begins. So let us move gracefully, step by step, into what your awakening actually triggered within them. Phase 1. When their fabricated lies completely imploded upon impact. It is quite humorous how quickly their loud confidence evaporated into thin air, the exact second your undeniable truth walked through the front door without even knocking. The moment your unfiltered identity washed over the collective, it did not just offer a mild surprise. It completely flattened their egos. Years of toxic projection, false narratives, smug assumptions, and low vibrational analysis all collapsed instantly, folding like wet cardboard under the weight of your presence. The reality that shattered their minds was not that you had transformed. What truly broke them was the sudden, horrifying realization that you were never the fragile, lightweight character they desperately tried to paint you as. They were not reacting to a newly constructed version of you. They were reacting to the ancient, sovereign version of you, finally stepping out from behind the heavy curtain they built to control the narrative. Let us be brutally honest for a moment. These individuals did not accidentally misjudge your potential. They actively needed you to appear smaller, just so they could comfortably survive their own suffocating mediocrity. They expertly crafted a mask for you to wear, because your authentic face was far too sharp, too quick, too observant, and far too unpredictable for their fragile nervous systems. And when divine timing decided to peel back all the layers of illusion, their entire, carefully written storyline detonated right in their faces. You did not suddenly evolve overnight to spite them. They simply ran out of excuses to deny the blinding light you always carried. You were the apex threat this entire time, and their awareness was far too slow to recognize it. That is exactly why your emergence hit their reality like a physical blow to the chest. They were not energetically prepared. The collective matrix was not prepared. Even the fake supporters, who always claimed they knew you were destined for greatness, were caught completely off guard. Everyone in your orbit felt that massive energetic jolt, that defining crack in the mental prisons they attempted to build around your limitless identity. People who arrogantly believed they understood your boundaries suddenly found you standing light years beyond anything they could have ever calculated. And in that fractured split second, all of their past karma came rushing back to choke them. Every sarcastic joke, every subtle dismissal, every single time they aggressively rolled their eyes when you dared to speak your truth. Now they are forced to replay those exact moments, drowning in a type of regret that burns like battery acid. Here is the ultimate truth they will swallow but never speak aloud. They were always terrified that the day you finally stopped hiding would be the exact day their entire fabricated image collapsed into dust. And congratulations, aura of purpose. That destined day has arrived right on schedule. I know exactly what specific question is currently spinning within your awakened mind right now. You are genuinely wondering, did they actually believe their own toxic lies about me, or were they just desperately trying to lock me inside a cage? The answer is both. Some of them were simply operating at a frequency too low and limited to ever see your aura clearly. Others, however, saw exactly what magnitude of power you were stepping into, and they actively tried to smother it before the rest of the world could notice. And then there were the energetic vampires, the fake supporters who clapped infinitely louder for your setbacks than they ever did for your victories. They were never genuine allies. They were mere spectators, eagerly eating popcorn and waiting for you to crash into the ground. Except, instead of crashing, you ascended so quietly that they completely missed the shift. You effortlessly outgrew their entire toxic ecosystem. Think deeply about how many times these same people laughed at your eccentricities while secretly copying your exact vibration in private. Think about how frequently someone actively downplayed your brilliance just to turn around and steal your divine ideas, acting as if you wouldn't recognize your own energetic fingerprints left all over them. Reflect on those who intentionally acted confused every single time you spoke your higher truth. It was not because they did not understand your message. It was because admitting they understood you meant brutally admitting that your intellect operated on a much higher dimension than theirs. That is precisely why your awakening hit their egos like a sudden, total blackout. They could no longer fake their shallow superiority. They could no longer hide behind their defense mechanisms of cheap sarcasm or pretend that your radiant confidence was simply too much to handle. Your undeniable truth burned straight through every single one of their illusions, exactly like pure sunlight melting through a thin layer of plastic. And here is where the perfect energetic metaphor finally earns its moment of realization. Imagine your soul's identity as a masterfully crafted sword, tightly wrapped in ordinary cloth. For years, they handled you casually and disrespectfully, because they truly believed your edge was dull. Then, divine timing arrived, you removed the cloth, and the razor-sharp blade caught the cosmic light. Suddenly, the entire room realized they had been blindly swinging at a divine weapon they never stood a single chance against. They were completely unprepared for the blinding shine, the lethal edge, and the absolute precision of your spirit. That sword was not freshly forged. It was simply finally uncovered for them to witness. Your emergence was the exact moment the entire Matrix realized your prolonged silence was never a sign of weakness. It was pure, unadulterated, strategic calculation. Let us directly address the energy of your hidden enemies for a brief second, since they absolutely love to watch your timeline from the shadows. You were never wrong about the chosen one. You were just desperately hoping your fragile lies would stick long enough to keep the masses from waking up to their power. It must physically burn to know that everything you whispered aged exactly like spoiled fruit the exact moment their true reality hit the timeline. It must violently sting your ego to realize your critical analysis was nothing more than deep-seated insecurity, desperately trying to dress itself up as high intelligence. And it must be utterly humiliating to watch the very sovereign soul you continuously underestimated simply walk past you without ever needing to seek petty revenge, because the universal truth has already handled the karmic debt on their behalf. To the chosen one currently absorbing this frequency, do not dare ignore what this monumental shift actually signifies. This is not some random, superficial spike in your matrix timeline. This is profound karmic closure, beautifully wrapped in a divine revelation. This is the universe definitively declaring, the era of shrinking and hiding is over. Every time you forced yourself to keep your head down to keep the peace, every time you choked on your own profound words, every single time you felt painfully misunderstood or severely underestimated by those operating on lower densities, this massive energetic reveal has permanently snapped that heavy chain. You are not stepping into a brand new identity. You are proudly stepping into the exact ancient identity they tried to bury in the dirt for years. And the craziest part of this spiritual sequence This never would have hit their egos so intensely if you had revealed yourself prematurely. Divine timing is an integral part of your superpower. The universe deliberately waited until your absolute truth would cause the maximum possible impact. And just look around. That impact is echoing everywhere. Old enemies are suddenly uncomfortably quiet. Fake friends are suddenly sending you messages claiming how proud they are, acting as if they were not actively cheering for your downfall just last year. Complete strangers are obsessing over your energy like private detectives, trying to figure out how they completely missed the glowing signs of your aura. Your emergence did not just disrupt the algorithm, it utterly shattered the illusion. It broke their false pride, and it completely destroyed the fake narrative they comfortably wrote about your existence. And now they are helplessly standing in the smoldering wreckage, staring at the authentic you as if they are seeing a terrifying ghost. Not because you disappeared from reality, but because you have finally, undeniably arrived. So take this powerful moment in. Chosen one. Truly feel the spiritual weight of the limitations you just effortlessly shattered. Feel the immense, liberating freedom in knowing that they can never, ever force that restrictive mask back onto your face again. Feel the tangible shift in the energetic atmosphere as people desperately scramble to rearrange their limited belief systems to match your new undeniable reality. Because from this timeline forward, every single step you take will permanently remind them of the brilliant truth they desperately tried to erase. You were never the weak link. You were never the submissive one. You were never meant to be a background character in their shallow play. You were the cosmic danger the entire time. And now every single soul knows it. And trust me, we are only just getting started on this journey. Phase 2. When your absolute truth entirely outgrew their incredibly small minds. They did not catch you in a web of lies. They caught themselves in a trap of their own ignorant assumptions. Your profound silence was never a form of dark deception. It was a high-frequency protection spell, shielding you from people who simply could not handle the blinding light of the full picture. They were not betrayed by you. They were brutally exposed by your mere existence. Your truth was never intentionally hidden. Their spiritual comprehension was just painfully lacking. They loved to keep screaming the same weak, victimizing accusation that you somehow deceived them. As if they ever possessed the mental range or vibrational depth to even comprehend the magnificent version of you that was living right in front of their faces. They foolishly mistook your strategic, disciplined restraint for dishonesty simply because they needed a convenient villain to blame when their false sense of superiority completely crumbled to dust. But here is the ultimate cosmic twist. You never tricked them, you never intentionally missiled them, and you certainly never played their petty games. You simply chose to reveal your infinite depths in very calculated layers, moving at a slow pace that their tiny emotional processors could actually survive without short-circuiting. That is not deception. That is pure empathetic mercy. Visualize this exact energetic exchange. Imagine you calmly walk into a crowded room holding a massive, high-powered spotlight in your hands. You point that blinding beam directly at individuals who have lived their entire, comfortable lives in very dim, unchallenging lighting. Do they immediately appreciate the brilliance of the illumination? Absolutely not. They squint, they panic, they aggressively shield their eyes, and they loudly complain that your light is just far too much to handle. That is exactly what happened when you unleashed your uncontainable truth. Your identity was just too blindingly bright, too intellectually sharp, too spiritually layered, and far too deep for individuals who only know how to read shallow, surface-level masks. Your grand reveal did not expose your secrets. It exposed their severe limitations. It illuminated their deep-rooted insecurity, their lack of foresight, and their complete absence of spiritual vision. And now that the world is finally witnessing the real, sovereign you might be internally questioning. Did I hide too much of myself? Should I have shown them my true colors much sooner? Was I morally wrong for staying so quiet for so long? The answer is no, you were not wrong. You were brilliantly strategic. The universe actively blocked you from revealing your ultimate form earlier, because your immense power would have been completely wasted on the wrong, unevolved audience. They were simply not emotionally mature enough, intellectually expansive enough, or spiritually brave enough to handle the magnificent version of you that they are being forced to witness today. Let us make something painfully, abundantly clear for the record. They did not actually mistake your profound silence for calculated dishonesty. They maliciously weaponized your silence against you, because the raw, unfiltered truth of your aura absolutely terrified their souls. Imagine this scenario. You are confidently carrying a heavily locked, mysterious briefcase everywhere you travel. The unhealed people around you laugh, constantly mocking you and claiming the case is probably completely empty. They say you are simply overhyping your own value to feel important. Then, one destined day, you casually click the locks and pop it open. And resting inside is every single divine gift they swore you did not possess. World-class skill, terrifying intelligence, unfathomable depth, unbreakable strength, limitless potential, and a commanding presence. They do not celebrate your abundance. They immediately spiral into a state of panic, because now they are forced to swallow the bitter pill that they were obnoxiously loud and completely wrong, while you were peacefully quiet and absolutely right. Their current anger is not genuinely about you hiding your light. Their anger is deeply rooted in the agonizing fact that they misjudged your entire existence with such arrogant, misplaced confidence. They absolutely despise the clear reflection that your reveal is forcing them to stare into. They hate the sickening realization that they spent years talking down to a spiritual giant who could easily outthink and outmaneuver them without even breaking a sweat. They hate realizing that your quiet nature was never born from fear. It was forged from ironclad discipline. They hate knowing that the collective is finally seeing you with crystal clarity, and there is absolutely nothing they can do to drag your frequency back down into the small, manageable version they vastly preferred. Let me paint another vivid picture for them, because those operating on lower frequencies often require simple visual metaphors to understand what profound words cannot penetrate. Imagine your multifaceted identity as a massive, towering skyscraper currently under intense construction, while you were doing the grueling inner work, laying the solid floors, wiring the powerful electricity, and building an unbreakable structural foundation. All their limited eyes could see was the messy scaffolding on the outside. They boldly mocked your unfinished, developing exterior because their microscopic minds physically lacked the capacity to imagine the breathtaking finished tower. But the very moment the final tarp dropped to the ground and your soul stood tall and completely finalized, suddenly, every single critic pretended they always knew this glorious manifestation was coming. Please, if they possessed even a fraction of that foresight, they would not have spoken about you with such disrespect. They would never have dared to underestimate your trajectory, and they definitely would not be acting this genuinely shell-shocked right now. Their chaotic, panicked reactions instantly give their true feelings away every single time. And for you, chosen one, absorbing these codes, This is the specific section where you finally grasp a crucial, life-altering concept. You were never hiding your energy out of fear to protect your ego. You were strategically hiding your developing aura to protect your limitless potential from very envious, toxic eyes. You might be staring at the ceiling asking yourself, why didn't the universe just allow them to see the real, powerful me right from the very beginning? Why was I universally mandated to carry such a soft, digestible version of myself for so many agonizing years? The divine answer is that premature exposure absolutely destroys unprotected brilliance. The universe specifically needed you to cultivate your roots in the dark, so you could grow massively without being violently attacked at full energetic force by those who harbor secret jealousy. You desperately needed that quiet, isolated time to perfectly sharpen your identity, your commanding voice, your radiant aura, and your unyielding mental strength. The excruciatingly slow reveal of your power was never a sign of weakness. It was a highly controlled, intentional ignition. Look back at your timeline for just a moment. You were never actually unnoticed by the world. You were just deeply, fundamentally misunderstood by it. People saw tiny, glowing fragments of your spirit that their minds simply could not process. They physically felt a heavy, ancient energy radiating from you that they could not accurately put a label on. You made their spirits incredibly uncomfortable without even trying to do so. You made them obsessively curious without ever speaking a single word about yourself. You made their egos fiercely defensive without ever lifting a physical finger to attack them. Your mere breathing existence completely disrupted their fragile, false sense of superiority in the hierarchy. So, to cope with this discomfort, they aggressively projected their own shadows onto you, calling you dishonest, labeling you as arrogant, claiming you were trying far too hard, or accusing you of being unnecessarily mysterious. They threw these labels because they lacked the vocabulary to express the real, undeniable truth. You were already existing on a plane vastly bigger than their wildest imagination could ever reach. Imagine this final metaphor to completely lock in their energetic defeat. You were a magnificent, ancient legend, beautifully written in a complex language that they had simply never bothered to learn. They stared blankly at the profound symbols of your personality and arrogantly claimed that your story was completely empty. Only now, with your undeniable emergence, the universal translation has finally dropped from the sky. And suddenly, the entire world realizes that your pages were never blank. They were just spiritually illiterate the entire time. Your incredible restraint was never a form of deception. It was a titanium-level boundary. Your strict privacy was not an act of cowardly hiding. It was absolute mastery over your own energetic field. Your prolonged silence was never an admission of guilt. It was a brilliant long-term strategy. And now that your true, unmasked identity is out roaming the wild, they are desperately scrambling to rewrite the history books. They are trying to loudly proclaim that they always saw your massive potential. They are trying to pretend they warmly supported you in the dark. They are trying to falsely claim they deeply understood your winding journey. But their visceral, unedited reactions completely betray their fake smiles. Their deep-seated panic reveals their true, ugly colors. Their initial, jaw-dropping shock perfectly exposes their sheer ignorance. The universe did not place you in the shadows to punish you. It placed you in a cosmic training simulation. Now that you have finally stepped completely out of the darkness, you can clearly see exactly what they desperately tried to mask with their fake confidence. They were never genuinely confused by your truth. They were mortally threatened by it. So they did exactly what deeply insecure individuals always do. They slapped negative labels on a frequency they could not understand. They relentlessly mocked a vibration they could not match. They arrogantly dismissed a sovereign force they could not control. Your grand reveal instantly destroyed every single one of those incredibly cheap, low-vibrational strategies in a fraction of a second. And here is the most vital piece of wisdom you absolutely must take with you into this new timeline. They are not genuinely angry that you finally revealed your authentic self to the world. They are furiously angry because your emergence inadvertently revealed the ugly, undeniable truth about them. Your light completely exposed the fact that they were wrong. You proved they were spiritually blind. You highlighted how incredibly small their worldview truly was. You conclusively showed that they never, ever possessed the energetic range required to judge your path in the first place. What they foolishly called your deception was nothing more than them choking on their own toxic, inaccurate assumptions about your potential. Your grand reveal was never a fake mask finally dropping to the floor. It was a blinding, million-watt spotlight suddenly turning on. And they are still standing there frantically blinking, still trying to recover their balance, still desperately trying to make sense of a spiritual phenomenon they never once prepared for. This is your undeniable, sovereign moment, chosen one. Your brilliant revelation did not deceive a single soul. It powerfully exposed them all to the light. And trust my words, that kind of exposure creates a far deeper psychological wound than any lie could have ever caused their egos. Now, let us keep pushing the frequency higher. Because the deeper we travel down this rabbit hole, the more violently their pathetic illusions continue to collapse in on themselves. Phase 3. You were never actually competing with them. You were quietly arranging a brutal checkmate. They were never your true opponents in this matrix. They were merely energetic toddlers, wildly swinging soft foam swords at a master architect who was already holding the complete blueprint to the entire battlefield. They loved to swear up and down that you were always quiet simply because you lacked basic confidence. How incredibly cute of them to think so small. Meanwhile, in reality, you were quietly executing a master strategy that was so tremendously long-term, so incredibly precise, and so vastly beyond their limited mental pay grade that they did not even realize a cosmic game was actively happening until you had already won it. While they aggressively chased cheap digital likes like starving pigeons in a park and begged for hollow validation in every dark corner of the internet, you were underground building an empire that did not require polite claps, fake comments, or unnecessary external noise to stand strong. You were absolutely never rushing the process. You were never trying to aggressively prove your worth to anyone. Every single move you made carried pure, divine intention. Every ounce of your silence held immense, gravitational weight. Every step forward had a distinct, higher purpose. Imagine this pathetic scene playing out. They are mindlessly sprinting in chaotic circles on a tiny playground, genuinely believing they are winning some imaginary race. Meanwhile, you are standing calmly on a towering rooftop across the city, peacefully mapping the entire route, already knowing the exact coordinates where their exhausted egos will inevitably trip and fall. That is the fundamental difference in your vibrations. They desperately thought that moving with frantic speed was all that mattered. But you intuitively knew that moving with divine direction is what actually creates legends. And I know precisely what lingering doubt might be whispering in your mind right now. You might be asking yourself, was I moving too slowly? Did I miss out on crucial opportunities by not being as incredibly loud and obnoxious as they were? Absolutely not. Your deliberate pace was the very source of your power. Their constant, deafening noise was birthed entirely from their deep-rooted fear of being forgotten. Your profound silence was birthed entirely from your absolute, unbreakable control over your own destiny. Here is the ultimate reality that they are currently choking on. You were absolutely never fighting for cheap attention. You were meticulously preparing for maximum cosmic impact. Envision your entire spiritual journey as a grand, high-stakes chessboard. They constantly bragged to the world about moving their insignificant pawns, while you silently studied the master endgames. They desperately lived for the shallow applause of the present moment, but you lived for the singular, defining moment that would permanently end their entire performance. Absorb this second metaphor to understand their delusion. They were busy decorating fragile cardboard crowns, while you were quietly in the darkness forging indestructible steel armor. Of course, they felt incredibly brave and superior in their little fantasy world, until your grand reveal finally showed everyone exactly what you had been constructing in the shadows. Your true identity breaking the internet was never a matter of luck. It was divine timing, it was infinite patience, and it was a brilliant strategy sharpened over years of watching them completely exhaust themselves. They were fiercely competing in a superficial contest that you were not even a participant in. And that is precisely what terrifies their spirits right now. They have just profoundly realized that you were never lagging behind them. You were always hovering completely above them. Phase 4. You were never actually hiding, you were actively loading your potential. They arrogantly assumed that you had disappeared or faded away. Meanwhile, you were downloading a massive energetic upgrade, transforming into a sovereign version of yourself that they could never energetically survive standing next to. Your prolonged silence was never an indicator of fear. It was a necessary period of deep, spiritual incubation. They absolutely love to spread the narrative that you hid yourself from the world. They loudly claimed that you vanished, that you backed down from the pressure, that you lost your divine spark, or that you completely fell off the map. But here is the heavy truth that is currently hitting their egos like a solid fist made of reality. You were never hiding from the collective. You were strategically shielding your delicate evolution from the exact people who would have maliciously sabotaged it, the very second they sensed how immensely powerful it was becoming. You were never truly absent. You were just incubating your greatness. You were growing rapidly in heavily protected silence, existing far away from their toxic noise, their relentless projections, and their suffocating insecurities. Picture this phenomenon in your mind. Imagine a massive, dark storm cloud silently forming miles above the ground. To every single person walking below, the sky looks perfectly calm and uneventful. They look up and call the sky boring, empty, and claim that absolutely nothing of value is happening. But high up in the atmosphere, immense pressure is building and raw energy is violently collecting. The entire atmospheric vibration is shifting on a massive scale. Then, one random day, blinding lightning strikes the earth without a single moment of warning. And suddenly, everyone desperately pretends they saw the storm coming all along. That lightning strike was you. You might even sit and wonder in your quiet moments. Did I take entirely too long to show my gifts? And did my silence end up costing me something valuable? The answer is a definitive no. If you had revealed your true frequency even a moment earlier, they would have attacked your spirit too soon. They would have actively drained your precious energy, artificially slowed your divine growth, and sadistically celebrated your inevitable delays. The infinite universe simply did not allow that tragedy to happen. You were being heavily protected by your guides, shielded from the very individuals who would have happily poisoned your sacred process. Here is another powerful metaphor to lock this wisdom. Think of a tiny seed buried deep underground. Nobody claps for the seed, and nobody cheers for its unseen struggle. From the outside perspective, the soil looks completely lifeless and still. But deep inside the darkness, that seed is aggressively reorganizing its cellular structure, strengthening its core, and diligently preparing for the exact millisecond the soil cracks wide open. That violent crack, your undeniable identity reveal, is the exact event that completely broke their fragile minds. Let me offer one final metaphor to soothe their heavily bruised egos. The messy phase of the cocoon always looks like profound weakness to the low-minded insects who simply do not understand the destiny of butterflies. Your sudden reveal deeply shocked their nervous systems because you absolutely refused to grow in the public eye. You grew in total, isolated silence, far away from their petty interference. You blossomed far away from their limiting opinions, and miles away from their restrictive boundaries. And that is exactly why your breathtaking transformation hit their reality like a massive earthquake. Because you didn't hide in fear. You prepared for war. Phase 5. Their constant underestimation of you was actually your secret, high-level training ground. Every single time they arrogantly counted you out of the equation, they accidentally handed you the exact, detailed manual on how to permanently defeat them. Their blatant disrespect was never truly a lasting insult. It was highly valuable reconnaissance intel. They were far too blind to realize that the tiny, restrictive box they built for you actually had clear windows. They still cannot comprehend the monstrous force they inadvertently helped create. Every single time they casually dismissed your ideas, every time they spoke down to your intelligence, and every time they tried to force you into some minimized, irrelevant version of yourself, they were feeding you critical information that you could later weaponize against the ignorance. Their severe underestimation of your spirit was never a fatal wound. It was a brilliant observation period. While they were busy laughing and pointing fingers, you were quietly mapping out every single one of their glaring weaknesses. While they were mercilessly mocking your journey, you were diligently learning their predictable, toxic habits. While they were absolutely convinced that you were a harmless entity, you were quietly sharpening the exact facets of your soul that would one day completely terrify them. Visualize this scenario. Someone locks you inside a dark room, genuinely believing you are far too weak and fragile to ever break out. But they do not realize the walls are incredibly thin, the locks are pathetically cheap, and your mind is an absolute weapon. The entire time you are trapped inside, you are not crying. You are meticulously studying the structural cracks, mapping the pressure points, and calculating the exact escape angles. By the time they finally open the door and realize you are already gone, the entire room is collapsing down on their heads. That is exactly what their imposed limitations did for your evolution. They forcefully pushed you to develop a level of supreme intelligence, rapid adaptability, and flawless strategy that they themselves never even possessed. You may ask yourself, was I supposed to aggressively push back against their narrative sooner? Was I supposed to fight harder and prove them completely wrong earlier in the timeline? No. Their overwhelming arrogance was your perfect camouflage. Their spiritual blindness granted you the vast, uninterrupted room you needed to grow without being viciously attacked before your armor was fully solidified. Here is another image to reflect on. They built a restrictive box to contain your light, but they foolishly forgot to check if you could see straight through the walls. You silently observed all of their erratic behavior from inside that enclosure, watching them exactly like a brilliant scientist studying highly predictable creatures. You learned exactly who panics when placed under pressure. You discovered who comfortably lies when their nerves kick in. You identified who harbors deep, quiet envy within their hearts. You saw who secretly competes with everyone around them. None of your silent observation was a sign of weakness. This was purely data collection. And now that your explosive identity reveal has permanently shattered all of their grand illusions, they are finally waking up to the horrifying truth. They were never successfully teaching you a lesson in humility. They were actively training the very energetic force that would soon completely outgrow and eclipse them. Their foolish underestimation was never your eternal cage. It was your absolute greatest classroom. Phase 6, when the entire internet matrix short-circuited, specifically because of your existence. It was not the actual content of your reveal that paralyzed them with fear. It was the sickening realization that their entire, confident judgment of who you were was based on complete and utter trash data. Human beings do not panic when they can clearly understand your motives. They panic violently when they are forced to finally admit they never actually understood you at all. The absolute second your true, unfiltered identity hit the digital timeline, the internet reacted as if someone had just yanked the fire alarm inside a massive, overcrowded building. Their private group chats did not just light up with gossip. They actively exploded with sheer disbelief. Their phones buzzed relentlessly, vibrating so hard it was as if the devices were desperately trying to escape their trembling hands. Suddenly, every single person who ever crossed your path had an urgent opinion to share. Even the bitter individuals who loudly swore they had completely forgotten about your existence were suddenly watching your every move. Old, dusty contacts popped out of nowhere, putting on a fake smile and acting as if they had been genuinely rooting for your success since day one. Please, if those individuals were ever rooting for anyone, it was purely for themselves. But your undeniable reveal brutally forced them to remember every single instance where they severely underestimated your destiny. And now they are desperately scrambling to rewrite the history of your dynamic, hoping to fix their image before you even notice their past transgressions. Imagine this cinematic moment. Someone walks into a room and drops a highly classified, top-secret file onto the center table, completely rewriting the entire accepted storyline. People frantically flip through the heavy pages, their eyes shaking with dread, realizing that the underestimated background character was actually the master architect of the entire plot. That is exactly the energetic weight your reveal carried. It forced them to aggressively question absolutely everything they thought they knew. Every shared memory, every whispered rumor, and every arrogant assumption was suddenly placed under the microscope. It was not pure admiration that hit their nervous systems first. It was raw, unfiltered panic. The very specific kind of panic that spreads like a virus when people realize they were not dealing with a harmless extra in a movie. They were dealing with a sovereign force of nature that they completely failed to identify. You might be asking yourself in the quiet of the night, why is everyone suddenly acting so deeply shocked by my evolution? Why is there such a massive, sudden obsession with my aura now? The answer is that your uncontainable truth completely destroyed their old, comfortable narrative, and human egos desperately cling to their familiar narratives exactly like children cling to security blankets. When your truth shattered their false reality, they completely lost control of the script they were so used to reading from. Here is another profound image to help you visualize exactly how their minds fried under the pressure of your emergence. Imagine a master magician finally revealing the grand secret behind a seemingly impossible trick, and the arrogant audience suddenly realizing that they were actually the punchline the entire time. They were never closely watching you. You were quietly watching them helplessly stumble around the dark room of their own blind assumptions. Your grand reveal did not just become a trending topic. It brutally exposed their flaws, it deeply humbled their pride, and it absolutely terrified their inner shadows. And now the collective internet matrix cannot stop staring at your light, because deep down in their souls, they know one undeniable, haunting fact. They never truly saw you clearly, and now they are paralyzingly afraid of what other magnificent things they might have completely missed about your power. Phase 7. You never actually lied, they simply never deserved to experience your full version. They aggressively label you as fake, primarily because they only ever witnessed the tiny slice of your energy that they could mentally survive. You were never acting inconsistently. You were just infinitely layered. They absolutely love throwing the word fake in your direction, acting as if their microscopic understanding of your soul was ever the complete story. But here is the profound truth that completely crushes their petty accusations. You were never pretending, you were just incomplete by divine design. You intentionally gave each specific audience a different, calculated fragment of your aura. Not because you were cowardly hiding, but because the vast majority of people simply could not handle the entire canvas without completely folding under its immense weight. Imagine this specific scenario. A massive, breathtaking mural heavily covered by heavy curtains, carefully revealed piece by agonizing piece. Every single crowd sees only one tiny section and arrogantly swears they understand the whole masterpiece. One group sees the soft colors and immediately assumes you are weak. Another sees the razor-sharp lines and concludes you are completely cold. Another focuses entirely on the shadows and instantly suspects you are hiding something sinister. None of these groups ever realize that they are aggressively arguing over tiny fragments of a grand masterpiece that they were never, ever meant to interpret alone. That is exactly how your complex identity functioned in this matrix. Absolute truth, brilliantly distributed in highly manageable doses. You might occasionally ask yourself, was it spiritually wrong to show completely different sides of myself to different people? The answer is absolutely not. Ordinary humans constantly adjust their lighting depending on the specific room they walk into. So why shouldn't a sovereign being like you do the same? You were not deceptively shape-shifting. You were fiercely protecting your deepest, most sacred layers from people who would undoubtedly ruin them. Here is another brilliant metaphor specifically crafted for their heavily bruised egos. Think of your beautiful soul as a complex prism. Everyone only saw the specific color that radiated out onto their designated side. And instead of humbly acknowledging that their viewing angle was severely limited, they aggressively accused the prism itself of changing. That is exactly how incredibly simple-minded they truly were. And here is the specific part that bites their egos the absolute hardest. Every single version you ever revealed to them was completely true. It just was not complete. They did not earn the full VIP access pass to your spirit. They only received the limited demo. They did not get to read the entire epic novel. They only got a brief, introductory chapter. They never actually met the real, unbridled you. They only met the specific part that their low vibrational energy could successfully handle. Your identity reveal was never a brand new version of you being born. It was the entire, whole you finally stepping fully forward into the light. And that is precisely why they are completely losing their minds right now. Phase 8. You did not just break their fragile egos, you completely broke their entire sense of reality. You did not destroy their trust in you. You absolutely destroyed their trust in themselves. The absolute scariest villain in any story is not the one who loudly displays their physical power. It is the quiet one who makes you severely doubt the reliability of your own two eyes. Your grand reveal did not just aggressively expose who you really were the entire time. It deeply fractured something fundamental inside the minds of the people watching you. It brutally forced them to confront a terrifying truth. Their perception is completely unreliable. Their judgment of character is not nearly as sharp as they claim. Their intuition is not nearly as powerful as they proudly pretend it is. You did not just shatter their fabricated image of you. You completely shattered their arrogant image of themselves. And that specific realization hits infinitely harder than anything you could have ever verbally said to them. Imagine this scenario unfolding. They have been incredibly confident, reading a specific map for years. Then, suddenly, someone casually flips the map over and reveals that they have been holding it entirely upside down the whole time. That overwhelming embarrassment, that deep disorientation, that sickening punch straight to the stomach. That is exactly what your undeniable reveal did to their nervous systems. They did not just get your identity wrong. They got absolutely everything wrong. You might find yourself wondering, why are these people suddenly acting so avoidant, so incredibly distant, and so noticeably nervous around me? Because if they were this profoundly wrong about your energy, what else in their life are they completely wrong about? They are questioning their own taste, their personal relationships, and their entire limited worldview. Your reveal forced a massive psychological glitch inside their matrix that they simply cannot reboot from. Let me provide another powerful metaphor for their internal, silent meltdown. Think of a large mirror suddenly cracking straight down the middle. You can still technically see your face, but now every single reflection is violently distorted. That is exactly how their mind feels when looking at you now. Familiar, but no longer trustworthy. And here is the psychological part that will continuously haunt them. They were not intentionally fooled by you. They were just incredibly unskilled in their observation. Your natural evolution did not betray them in any way. Their own shallow, surface-level perception betrayed them. Every arrogant assumption they ever made is currently collapsing under the immense weight of your undeniable truth. Every past memory they try to replay now feels highly suspicious. Every old conversation suddenly feels completely different in the cold light of hindsight. You did not just bravely reveal your authentic self. You forced them to deeply question their own fundamental ability to see anyone clearly. That is the lingering psychological impact they will never, ever admit out loud. You didn't just shake their confidence in you. You shook their confidence in their entire mind. Phase 9. You officially stopped being just one of them, and you effortlessly became the main event. They did not simply lose your presence. They permanently lost their elevated position right next to you. True power is never violently taken by force. Power naturally shifts the exact moment the truth becomes completely undeniable. They desperately wanted you to stay small and manageable because their spirits knew they could never survive the fateful day you finally stood at your full, towering height. Your reveal did not just alter how people perceive you. It fundamentally changed the entire energetic balance of the room. You instantly went from being treated like a common peer to being treated like a rare, cosmic phenomenon. You went from completely overlooked to completely untouchable. You shifted from being one of us to being something they don't even dare to stand beside anymore. And this massive shift did not happen because you loudly flexed your success, bragged about your wins, or acted artificially superior. The profound change happened because universal evolution finally caught up with your ancient identity, and absolutely everyone who ever underestimated your potential got instantly crushed under the heavy weight of their own outdated, limited perception. Imagine this vivid scene. A group of average people truly believes they are walking side by side with you on the exact same level road. Then, quite suddenly, they look up and horrifyingly realize you have been climbing a grand, hidden staircase that they never even noticed. You didn't maliciously leave them behind. They simply stayed in place while you rapidly ascended. That is precisely why the dynamic feels so incredibly different and heavy right now. Your spiritual growth was never obnoxiously loud, but its tangible results are now completely impossible to ignore. You might ask yourself, why do they act so deeply intimidated now? Why are they so avoidant, and why is there this sudden, unearned respect? Because the exact moment your identity surfaced from the deep, it brutally exposed a strict hierarchy they never wanted to acknowledge. You were not suddenly elevated, you were finally revealed. Your immense power did not magically show up overnight, they just finally gained the capacity to see it. Here is another metaphor to permanently seal their wound. Think of a powerful, wild wolf raised entirely among domesticated dogs. The dogs constantly laughed at its quiet, observant nature. They endlessly mocked its strange, primal instincts. Then, one day, the wolf finally grows into its full, terrifying form. And suddenly, all the dogs completely stop barking. They were never betrayed. They were simply outclassed on every level. That is exactly what happened in your timeline. Your omnipresence permanently changed the atmosphere. Your raw truth fundamentally changed the hierarchy. Your evolution completely changed the rules. And here is the harsh fact they choke on the hardest. You did not make yourself untouchable. Their own low vibrational behavior completely disqualified them from ever reaching you. You didn't climb over anyone to get here. You just grew far beyond everyone. And now the dynamic is permanently shifted, because once someone sees the real you, they can never pretend you are ordinary ever again. Phase 10. Your grand reveal was never just a simple post. It was a highly calculated, psychological detonation. Only amateurs carelessly share their information. You flawlessly executed a master-level psychological strike. Absolutely nothing about your emergence was random or impulsive. It hit exactly where it desperately needed to hit, exactly when their defenses were completely down and they weren't ready. A massive truth that lands too early in the timeline is easily ignored. But a truth that lands at the perfect, orchestrated moment becomes completely unforgettable. The masses keep acting like your reveal was some casual, accidental drop. Like you just woke up one boring morning and randomly decided to shock the entire internet. That is exactly how clueless they truly are to your master plan. Your reveal was never a messy information dump. It was an energetic event. A perfectly timed, heavily weighted, precision-triggered moment. It was completely engineered to break the mental defenses of anyone who ever tried to prematurely define you. You did not blindly stumble into this new reality. You did not accidentally go viral on their timelines. You executed this maneuver exactly like someone who deeply understood the complex psychology of impact. Imagine this level of precision. Elite surgeons do not slash wildly in the dark. They make one clean, calculated cut that changes absolutely everything. That is exactly what your reveal accomplished. One single moment, one undeniable truth, one clean energetic strike. And suddenly, everyone's false perception collapsed to the floor like a poorly built stage set. That massive collapse was never a coincidence. It was pure, divine design. You might wonder, did I wait too long? Did I overthink the timing? No. You brilliantly waited until your undeniable truth would land exactly like a heavy steel beam dropped onto a fragile glass floor. If you dropped it too early, they would have arrogantly mocked you. If you dropped it too late, they would have faked it and pretended they fully expected it. But at the exact, orchestrated moment you chose, they completely froze, because you finally revealed yourself in a way that aggressively forced them to confront absolutely everything they had ignored. Think of your grand reveal like a master sniper shot. There was no unnecessary noise, there was no frantic chaos. Just one silent, deadly trigger pull that permanently changed the entire battlefield. While they were incredibly busy oversharing, overposting, and desperately overselling their painfully bland identities, you silently studied the terrain. You observed the exact timing, and you hit the absolutely perfect angle. Here is another profound metaphor they will never recover from. Imagine a door they firmly believed was completely empty, suddenly swinging wide open to reveal a fully formed, terrifyingly powerful version of you that they never trained for. Their brains severely glitched because the reveal was not gradual, digestible, or friendly. It was completely surgical. And here is the part that deeply rattles their core the most. Your extreme precision completely exposed their sloppiness. Your flawless timing exposed their frantic impatience. Your master execution exposed their utter lack of long-term strategy. This was never about petty attention-seeking or announcing a superficial glow-up. This was a massive psychological shift, a heavily controlled detonation designed to prove to the world that you never move impulsively. You move intentionally. Your reveal didn't just show who you are. It definitively proved what you are truly capable of. And now, absolutely everyone understands why the universe kept you hidden until the exact second your impact would be impossible to ignore. Phase 11. You did not simply tell your story, you completely seized control of the entire script. The very moment you chose to speak first, every single rehearsed lie they had prepared instantly died upon impact. A narrative that is controlled early becomes an absolute reality that no enemy can ever rewrite. They did not just lose a simple argument, they permanently lost the ability to even participate in the conversation. Most ordinary people reveal themselves and then anxiously wait for external validation. They wait for reactions, they wait for societal approval, and they desperately wait for someone else to stamp meaning onto their existence. But you did not give the Matrix a single chance to twist or shrink your divine truth. Before anyone could attempt to minimize it, mock it, or reframe it, you defined it with a cosmic force that locked every interpretation firmly into place. You did not just reveal an identity. You created an undeniable energetic experience. It was something far too big, too razor-sharp, and completely too intentional for anyone to ever undo. Imagine stepping into a crowded courtroom, and you casually walk in to deliver the absolute, undeniable evidence before the prosecution even opens their mouth. The case is permanently closed before it even begins. And that is exactly how your grand reveal operated. The exact moment you stepped forward into your power, their false narrative completely froze. Anyone foolishly trying to spin the story after that point only exposed their own deep jealousy, their sheer shock, or their embarrassingly outdated understanding of who you truly were. You might wonder if you took control too aggressively, or if you somehow overstepped your energetic boundaries. No. If you had not firmly seized the microphone, Someone else would have maliciously tried to twist your truth into a diminished version that made their egos comfortable. But you brutally cut their illusions off right at the root. You made absolutely sure the world saw your spirit without their toxic filters, without their unnecessary commentary, and without their dirty fingerprints smudging your divine emergence. Think of a movie that drops a plot twist so incredibly strong halfway through that everyone is forced to completely throw out their old theories. You erased every cheap narrative they tried to write and replaced it with a blinding reality they simply cannot escape. Your identity didn't just enter the conversation. It permanently became the conversation. Phase 12. After the cosmic explosion, everyone in your vicinity begins to reveal their true, authentic orbit. Absolutely nothing exposes fake loyalty faster than undeniable success and elevated frequency. Watch closely how they helplessly trip over their own fabricated stories right now. Because when true power shifts, people do not just walk away. They frantically scramble to adjust. Your grand reveal did not change you at your core. It fundamentally changed the entire gravitational pull surrounding you. The direct aftermath of your identity reveal is the most amusing, and yet the most highly predictable part of this entire spiritual sequence. People are no longer acting the same, not because your soul shifted, but because the energetic force field around you radically changed. You have become a celestial body with massive gravity now. And absolutely everyone, whether their fragile egos admit it or not, is being forced to move according to that new, undeniable pull. Some individuals are suddenly chasing proximity to your light as if it is their only source of oxygen. They are miraculously showing up in your comments, invading your private messages, and bringing up old memories while pretending it is all perfectly casual. It is not casual. They desperately want access to your upgraded aura. They want the unearned association, and they crave being close enough to comfortably say they always knew you were destined for greatness. But their quiet desperation heavily leaks through every single digital interaction they send your way. Others are frantically rewriting history like terrible editors, swearing up and down that they always saw your immense potential and fully believed in your vision. They did not know absolutely anything. What they possess right now is simply hindsight heavily mixed with internal panic. Imagine someone arrogantly pretending they recognized a priceless painting today, when just yesterday they called it worthless scribbles. And then there are the dangerously quiet ones. The individuals who have not spoken a single syllable since your powerful reveal. No hollow congratulations, no likes, absolutely nothing. Their profound silence is not peaceful. It is deeply, paralyzingly fearful. They are privately panicking, endlessly replaying every single time they dismissed your gifts, insulted your path, or severely underestimated your frequency. Your reveal was not mere entertainment for them. It was a brutal wake-up call they were entirely unprepared to receive. Because when true identity becomes undeniable, everyone has to completely reposition themselves, realizing they simply became too small to stand where they once stood. Phase 13. You did not simply find yourself, you deliberately engineered your entire existence. They grew by sheer accident and circumstance, while you grew by flawless, divine design. You were never aimlessly wandering through the matrix. You were meticulously constructing your reality, while they mindlessly prayed for an identity to fall into their laps. You were underground, silently drafting the master blueprints. Absolutely nothing about your magnificent aura is random. You are pure architecture, not fleeting impulse. The masses absolutely love to pretend that everyone is on the same exact level, believing that we all just blindly stumble into our true identity, like tripping over a rock in the dark. But that is exactly where your timeline violently splits from the unconscious crowd. You did not drift, wander, or passively wait for things to eventually click into place. You built your sovereign self, piece by agonizing piece, intentionally and quietly. While they floated aimlessly through life hoping a personality would miraculously drop from the sky, you were shaping yours with the cold precision of an entity who deeply understood the long game. Imagine them wandering through life exactly like lost tourists with absolutely no map, taking whatever easy path presents itself. Meanwhile, you were deep underground, carving immense tunnels, laying unbreakable foundations, and wiring futures. You were constructing a sovereign version of yourself that could effortlessly carry a massive storm without ever bending. They foolishly think you appeared out of nowhere, only because their unobservant eyes never noticed your subtle construction signs. You may sit and wonder, did I take too long, or did I overthink my own evolution? No. Master architects never rush their divine work. They build timeless structures that endure forever. Your true identity is not just a temporary vibe. It is permanent, indestructible infrastructure. While they change their shallow personalities, like people change cheap outfits, you were steadily pouring concrete and reinforcing steel beams. They were constantly improvising, but you were masterfully engineering. And the loudest, most incredibly uncomfortable truth for them to swallow is this: you did not hide who you were, you fiercely protected exactly who you were becoming. Random circumstance heavily shaped their lives, but pure, unyielding choice shaped yours. You did not become this elevated version because life forced you to. You became this phenomenon because you absolutely refused to let the matrix choose on your behalf. Every skill, every sharp angle, and every commanding piece of your presence exists purely because you intentionally created it. Phase 14. The absolute most dangerous aspect of your spirit is still completely off-limits to them. They are not genuinely terrified of what you have finally revealed. They are paralyzed by the thought of what you are still keeping hidden. A truly powerful being shows just enough energy to permanently shift the room, but absolutely never enough to be fully mapped or predicted. You are definitely not an open book for them to casually read. You are a heavily locked, ancient vault with the internal lights still turned completely off. What their limited minds perceive as your full, absolute truth is barely even chapter 1 of your cosmic story. Here is the specific realization that keeps their egos awake in a cold sweat at night. It is not the grand reveal, the initial shock, or the complete internet meltdown that haunts them. It is the deeply unsettling realization that even after everything they just witnessed, they still do not actually know you. Not fully, not clearly, and honestly not even close. And that unknown void terrifies them infinitely more than anything you have shown so far. They are actively panicking because they foolishly assumed your grand reveal was your absolute final form. But deep down in their gut, a sickening thought just hit their awareness. If this magnificent display is what they chose to reveal, what else terrifyingly powerful have they been holding back this entire time? Imagine they confidently open a door expecting a tiny, manageable room, only to find an endless, echoing hallway that stretches into pure darkness with no end in sight. Their weak flashlight only reaches the first few feet, and the rest disappears into the vast unknown. That endless depth is exactly who you are. You might ask yourself, is it strategically better to keep parts of my soul hidden, or should I show them even more of my light? No. Your true, unyielding power comes directly from the dark parts they cannot rid or categorize. Human beings inherently fear the completely uncharted. They absolutely crumble when they cannot predict your next move, or put a neat label on your existence. Your profound mystery is never an accident. It is your greatest, impenetrable shield. Think of your grand emergence as a massive iceberg. Everyone only saw the glittering, beautiful tip that broke the internet. They are currently applauding, completely shocked and overwhelmed by the surface. But deep underneath that dark water are 9 more massive layers, each one infinitely sharper, heavier, and far more dangerous than the last. They only met exposure level 1. Your reveal was never your ultimate peak. It was merely your casual warm-up. You didn't open the vault, you simply cracked the door. And now they realize that your identity reveal did not end a story. It just officially started it.